Shalom, Israel. It's your brother Marcus G back with yet another Truth for Thought. Some time ago, first I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High. Some time ago, Israel, I did a Truth for Thought by the name of Wickedness in Israel. Well, I'm doing this particular Truth for Thought, which is entitled Wickedness, Traitors amongst Israel. Because of something that came across my lap, basically, here last week. So the first thing I want to do is I want to give you a little background, because what's going to happen is I'm going to give you a little background, just a little of the background in regards to a video that I'm going to show you. Now, Israel, this is a 30-minute video, but trust me, you want to watch this and you want to pay close attention to everything within this video. All right. So this video is of a quote unquote fictional writing, and it is entitled Space Traitors. So what I want to do is I want to share my screen and we're going to get a little background information to it. So here you go. Space Traitors. The Space Traitors is a science fiction short story by Derek Bell. Remember that, Israel, that this is a science fiction short story, and also who is by Derek Bell. It was originally published in 1992 and republished in the 2000 edition of Dark Matter. Okay, so this, and the version that you're going to see is the 1992 version. All right. But let's just get a little information on it. On January 1st, 2000, extraterrestrials, this is the background of the actual science fiction story. So the plot is this. On January the 1st, 2000, extraterrestrials arrive on Earth and offer the United States gold, safe, nuclear power, and other technological advances in exchange for all of its Black citizens, for all of the melanated people. All right. They require a decision by, get this, Israel, they require a decision by January 17th, a world holiday of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Gleason Golightly, a prominent Black conservative, and he's of the Republican Party in this particular science fiction short story, is summoned to participate in the cabinet's decision of the proposed trade. Golightly, ordinarily an Uncle Tom on racial matters, is adamantly against the trade for moral reasons. But the completely white cabinet, so Gleason Golightly is of Israel descent. However, the completely Edomite cabinet, or Esau, discounts his moral objections because they believe the trade will fix the United States' practical environmental and economical problems. Later, Golightly attends a meeting of Black community members or Israelite descendant community members. He suggests that if Black people or Israelite descended people pretend that they are getting the best part of the deal, then white people or Edomite people will oppose it out of envy. A preacher responds that Golightly's understanding of white psychology has merit, but he cannot go along with such a cynical ploy, and the group votes instead for boycotts and protests. A prominent group of American Jews, they're actually Jewish, forms the Anne Frank Committee, intending to smuggle Blacks out of the country before the trade, but the FBI publishes the names of the committee's members and they are forced into hiding themselves. A constitutional amendment is proposed authorizing Congress to induce Blacks into special service, almost like a draft that Babylon has, where they can draft you, young men, young princes and young kings, when you reach a certain age. A constitutional amendment is proposed authorizing Congress to induce Blacks into special service with the language model on the Selective Service Act of 1918. A national referendum on the amendment is scheduled for January the 15th, which is a day prior to the deadline, 2 days prior to the deadline. The Supreme Court rejects several legal challenges to the referendum process, citing as precedent the majority open in Glies versus Harris. White televangelists line up in favor of the trade. Finally, on January 15th, the national referendum is held and the trade is approved by a 70-30 margin. On January 17th, the Black population of the United States, including Golightly himself, are rounded up and sent naked and in chains into the holds of extraterrestrial ships as their forebears had arrived. So, as you see here, this is what the actual plot of what you're about to watch is. Keep all of that in mind, but also pay very close attention to that which you see in this depiction of a science fiction short story by Derek Bell. So let me stop sharing my screen. Without any further ado, I'm going to leave you and let you watch this.
You can actually feel the excitement in the crowd.
Bernie, some of these people have been out here since 2 o'clock this morning, though the aliens aren't scheduled to arrive before noon. But as you can see, the crowd is getting pretty excited as America prepares for its first encounter with space since NASA went bankrupt back in 1998. It's quite a circus.
Thank you, Stryker. Of course, we will go back to Plymouth Rock the moment the aliens are sighted. In other news, the Environmental Protection Agency has added Hartford, Connecticut to its list of cities to be evacuated by year's end. Carcinogen levels there have topped those found in Baltimore last year. The gap between black salaries and white widened. Wait, something's now happening at Plymouth Rock. Stryker!
Well, as you can hear, Bernie, there's definitely something going on now. We can't see anything yet, but this humming is definitely growing louder. You know, ever since the alien signal was first received some 3 months ago, speculation has run rampant as to their appearance, the size and shape of their craft. Oh my God! Literally, a killer spacecraft have just materialized from nowhere right over our heads. This is absolutely amazing. This is literally an approaching the microphone. For those of you who are concerned, President Taylor, of course, is safe and secure in an undisclosed bunker until it's determined whether or not the aliens pose any threat.
Hello? Hello? Is this on? Can you understand me? I'm the Vice President of...
We are space traders bearing exquisite gifts that will restore your nation to its former glory. Nearly limitless quantities of gold and precious metals that will instantly erase your deficit. Machines that will renew your rivers and your air. Cold fusion technology for a safe, cheap, and inexhaustible source of energy. All we ask in return is the delivery to our vessels. 5 days from now, every child, woman, and man in your nation with at least 2,500 milligrams of melanin in their skin per square centimeter.
What the hell is melanin?
Put more simply, in trade for solving all your most pressing domestic catastrophes, we are asking for every person in your country that you would classify as black.
Are you kidding?
No, we are not.
What are you going to do with them?
Well, that does not concern you. We give you 5 days to decide, and the offer is non-negotiable. We will not try to coerce you in any way, yet I hope we can do some business together.
We wait all this time for a fucking UFO and they come here with this? It's all bullshit, right?
Maybe. Maybe this day is going to go down in history. An end to poverty, end to pollution, cheap, unlimited energy for every American. Sounds like a hell of a re-election platform.
Sam, I have to go on record as saying this is crazy. But
what?
well, welfare rolls would be cut 40%. Food stamps, Medicare, drug abuse programs slashed.
May I add something, Mr. President? You know, if I could guarantee the prosperity of this great country by giving life or taking off of those space traitors, I'd do so without a moment's hesitation.
You know, the Secretary's courage is not unlike that American men and women have exhibited when called to military service. Well, some go more willingly than others, but almost all go with the knowledge that they might never come back.
I don't believe what I'm hearing. Doesn't anybody see a downside to this?
You know, Casper's absolutely right. The guilt that many whites would feel for sending the blacks away could take a severe psychological toll, with medical costs possibly reaching astronomical levels.
This is madness. Our military services would be decimated, depleted of 30% of our manpower.
But with unlimited energy, think of the weapons you could create.
Mr. President, Sam, you were elected by the slimmest of margins. Your African-American vote was key.
I don't expect them to be thrilled, but how can I put this delicately? Their future electoral clout is going to be severely limited.
And Casper, let's be honest. Do you really think the aliens will treat them worse than we have?
No, the real issue here is spin control. The decision has to be the will of the people and not the administration policy.
How about a national referendum? Have MCI fire up a couple of those yes and no 900 numbers.
I'll be damned. We're on to something here. Professor Golightly, you look like you want to say something.
Gentlemen. Gentlemen, gentlemen. As you know, Mr. President, I have been a lifelong card-carrying Republican. I feel I was instrumental in your moderate wing, wrestling control of the party from religious extremists. I have often supported this administration's repeal of affirmative action legislation, not protested its decreasing handouts to the poor. And in helping you undermine these policies, I realized that your reasons for doing so differed from mine. And yet I was always a good soldier for the party. I sincerely believed, and still believe, that black people need to learn how to stand on their own 2 feet without the crutches of governmental legislation. But I'm afraid I must protest in the strongest terms possible what I've heard in this room today. What is being proposed cannot be passed off euphemistically as selective service. At its best, it is group banishment. At its worst, it is utter and complete extermination.
Professor, that's ridiculous.
Wait. Did I miss something? Who said anything about exterminate? Look, the space traders seem perfectly nice and civil. Their planet might be one great big Club Med for all we know.
Sam, we do not even know if these creatures can deliver on their end. You and I play poker together. What if they're as good at bluffing as you are?
Now you're whistling Dixie. I'd look like a damn idiot if the aliens took off and left me nothing but a big bag of tortilla chips. We'll ask them for a peek at the goodies. And if they're not BSing, we'll schedule a national referendum on the night before their deadline. Call up MCI, ask them to fire up 2 yes and no 900 numbers. Gentlemen, lady.
Yes, talk to me.
Well, first of all,
To pay off the federal deficit, but also to give every American, every remaining American, a tax-free year. This just in, alien craft have vacuumed the air over Denver and Los Angeles. Smog levels are reported at 0. And live from Chicago, our news team is sending these pictures from Lake Michigan.
If you want a sight for sore eyes, Linda sends her regards.
He's in the back.
Good dog. Yeah. Hello, Professor.
Travis is one of Millie's pups. George gave him to me the night of the election.
You know, if this goes through, it's not going to be easy. Drop it, boy. Some folks might fight it. Make the LA riots look like a slumber party. The president needs you signing aboard this thing. Professor, if you lobby on our side and the trade is approved, our president promises that he's going to see to it that 100 black families are smuggled to England. You can draw up the list. I gotta go.
What's the word? I bet he had a lot of words.
Yeah. I'm not sure what they mean. But he said that they'll smuggle us to England if I lobby on his side.
So what did you tell him?
I'm not sure Gail, that they even need my help, given the state of black leadership. Please, unity will come out all speak at once. All right. Legislation. What else? The boycotts. Armed struggle. Look, my friends, very little is being accomplished here today. Rather,
they tried this once before, but I pledge to you that hundreds of thousands of Jews will not allow another final solution in this country. Not now, not ever.
you just know once we go, you all are next.
Latest tracking polls indicate support of the trade at 40%. The melanin content of 2,500 milligrams per square centimeter that the Traitors requested roughly corresponds to a light brown skin complexion. Dr. Eric Fannin of Johns Hopkins... Dr. Fanon will explain. Doctor.
The amount of melanin in one's skin varies according to how dark or tan we might be. 2,500 milligrams per square centimeter corresponds to the darkness of, well, what I'd say to be an ordinary paper bag.
Thank you, Doctor. In other news, government sources confirm that France, England, and Germany have offered their blacks as well. But the alien spokesperson is quoted as saying, maybe next time.
I'm off. What's this? All I'm saying is try it. My God, it was the last box in the store, and I just thought...
Yes, sir. And I'm taking all my scissors with me, too. Because they don't tell them what kind of electricity them aliens gonna have on them ships. Because you know us black folks, we don't like arriving nowhere on nappy-headed. So you really think they're gonna send us away, huh? And I told you the one about the American dream? No. That's what all the niggers swimming back to Africa, with a Jew under each arm. You're outrageous. But you know, Piggy, we could fight back. Like the Palestinians. Rocks and guns. Nigga, please. Like I'm gonna get myself killed just to stay here. I just hope they got them little bottles of Remy Martin on the flight. Got to have my Remy Martin. Remy Martin. Hey, hold it. Where you going? I'll be right back. These folks are crazy.
Listen, this is crazy. If the president didn't listen, why should they?
Because they're capitalists first and Caucasians second. What do you think I've been doing on these corporate boards all these years? This is what it's all about.
Listen,
black people have been calling me an Oreo ever since I was 12. After tomorrow, they'll call me a hero.
And if it doesn't work, what about the family? What about you?
Could we live with ourselves if I help them send black people away?
No.
Call you later. Gentlemen, first of all, thank you for coming. Now, I suppose to the rank and file American, this unholy offer by the aliens must seem like an answer to their wildest dreams. It seems to me, however, upon further reflection, that this trade could bring our nation nothing but disaster. He's right. But I don't want you to take my word for it. Because after all, I come from a very obvious self-interest. Leland, why don't you tell the rest of the boys how this trade would affect your distilleries?
Blacks drink 33% of my hard liquor, 48% of my cognac alone. Who's going to take up that slack?
Why, it'll decimate athletic shoe sales.
Cool and Newport cigarettes.
Pork!
15% of our best consumers gone. Like that.
And we at the oil companies employ over 12 million people worldwide. Now, the alien, inexhaustible energy source will wipe us out overnight.
Furthermore, the blacks are all gone. How long do you think poor whites will stand being at the very bottom of the barrel? We'll have a revolution before the year's out.
We've got to tell those little green men to go back where they came from.
Excellent, gentlemen. Excellent. Now, I believe that this room represents a few $1 trillion in assets. I propose that we mount the largest ad campaign this nation has ever seen. We buy up every minute of radio and TV airtime, every print ad, every billboard, even every goddamn bus bench, and we flood them with the anti-trade message, SOS, save our souls.
We'll have whites on their knees begging blacks to stay.
By executive order, the president has banned African Americans from leaving the country before tomorrow's birthday.
Mommy,
This is
just pretend this isn't happening.
World News Now.
Do you know Sis Ruth, my great-grandmother? She used to clean white folks' houses on the main line in Philadelphia.
In other news,
She told me,
Mexican...
they may not like us, but they sure can't live without us. Don't worry, baby. They can't live without us.
Has been flooded.
Guatemalans clean their houses now.
Actor George Hamilton vowed today he too will go.
Do you know that the African Americans won over 500 of 850 Olympic medals awarded to the United States?
Yes. Good thing.
Cigarettes, cognac, cigarettes.
Everybody, thank you. My name's Casey Kasem, and welcome to Alien Trade Referendum. Just say no! Oh boy, can you imagine life without jazz? No! Or without the blues? No! Or without rock and roll? No! Well, that's what life would have been like in these United States without the contributions of African Americans. If this referendum passes, and we vote to send dark-skinned people up into outer space,
has banned African Americans from leaving the country before tomorrow's birthday.
Mommy,
This
we can't just pretend this isn't happening.
World News Now.
Do you know Sis Ruth, my great-grandmother? She used to clean white folks' houses on the main line in Philadelphia.
In other news,
She told me,
Mexican...
they may not like us, but they sure can't live without us. Don't worry, baby. They can't live without us.
Mommy, has been flooded.
Guatemalans clean their houses now.
Actor George Hamilton vowed today he too will go.
Cigarettes, cognac, cigarettes, cognac. Did you know that the African Americans won over 500 of the 850 Olympic medals awarded to the United States?
Yes. Good thing.
Cigarettes, cognac, cigarettes.
everybody, thank you. My name's Casey Kasem, and welcome to Alien Trade Referendum. Just say no! Oh, boy, can you imagine life without jazz? No! Or without the blues? No! Or without rock and roll? No! Well, that's what life would have been like in these United States without the contributions of African Americans. If this referendum passes, and we vote to send dark-skinned people up into outer space, I'll tell you one thing, you can forget about ever seeing another dream team again.
You know, we didn't bring any scientists or anything. People, yourself, just entertainers. You know, okay.
This is for people. This is
for the people.
Eggheads.
So tomorrow, when you pick up your phone to vote in the privacy of your own home, just think.
privacy of your own home.
My people, oh, my people, the sit-ins and the boycotts have worked. We are ahead in the polls.
Don't count your chickens before they come home to roost.
Oh, somebody bring me some milk, because here come a big Oreo.
Yes, yes. Give him a chance. We are ahead in the polls. But who knows how these people will vote in the privacy of their own homes.
Oh, sit down, Tom.
I am well aware of how I am perceived. But now is not the time for our petty squabbling. Now, this came to me this morning. In order to ensure victory, we must stop resisting the offer and urge the country to accept the Traitors' proposition. The major motivation for racism in this country is the deeply held belief that black people should not have anything that white people don't. Not only do whites insist on better jobs, higher incomes, better neighborhoods, better schools, but they leap to gobble up our language, our dress, our music, and our dance. Therefore, I propose that from now until the polls open this evening, we circulate the rumor that the aliens have arranged for our transport to the wealthiest and most beautiful utopia in the known universe. White folks will go ape, wondering what we will encounter in this new land. They will gnash their teeth. They will even argue that to limit the space traders' offer to blacks is an unconstitutional discrimination against whites.
I cannot stand here any longer and be influenced by a man who has dedicated his entire life to sabotaging his own people. Now is not the time for trickery and tomfoolery. My people were brought here involuntarily, and involuntarily is the only way they're gonna take me out. Yes.
Without power must use cunning and guile. Yes,
Well, today is the day of reckoning for 20 million Americans of African descent. Voting will begin in just a few seconds from now. As you know, 2 telephone numbers will appear on your screen, one in favor and one against the space traders' offer. After dialing the number of your choice, simply key in your personal security code. Here, ladies and gentlemen, are the 2 numbers. Polls will remain open for the next 3 hours, but we should be able to project a decision very shortly. Wait. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, with just 6% of the vote tallied, we project that the referendum will pass. ample margin. Oh, God. What? Collection centers will be set up tomorrow morning by the National Guard. The aliens say that they will allow only one piece of carry-on luggage per person. Oh, This is Bernard Shields. Goodbye.
Mom. Dad. Come on, this is insane. You're just sitting here like nothing's wrong, nothing's going on. We gotta do something. I mean, can we get across the border or get guns for everybody? I don't know.
Jennifer, they stopped selling guns to us yesterday, and 2 days ago they quadrupled the border guards. You know that.
Well, you and he did pledge the same fraternity. He just can't.
Morning, Gail. Wife, you aren't a sight for sore eyes. Linda sends her regards.
England?
Promise is a promise.
Get out of here.
Not you, Gail. Promise is a promise. You knew it was hopeless as soon as the idea was out of the bag. Didn't you?
All right, people, off the bus and on the beat. Come on, folks, let's move. Get your belongings. Get out fast. Stand on. You heard him. Right, get ready. You heard him. Let's go. Let's go. Off the bus and on the beat. Let's follow along. If you can't carry it, leave it behind. Push wild, no talking. Move, go.
So as we say goodbye to our dark friends and neighbors, we say hello to a new era of American peace and prosperity. For World News Now, I'm Stryker O'Rourke.
Now that you've seen that, Israel, there are a couple of things that I want to touch on that were in that particular 30-minute clip of this science fiction piece of art, Hollywood art, done by, again, Derek Bell. First, the Chariot's rendezvous point was Plymouth Rock. Was that coincidental? Why, Ronnie? I don't think so, and I'm going to show you why. Share my screen here so you can see this. Plymouth Rock is the traditional site of disembarkation of William Bradford and the Mayflower Pilgrims who founded the Plymouth colony in December 1620. I'm going to go down a little bit to right here, where it says the first documented claim that Plymouth Rock was the landing place for the Pilgrims was made by old Thomas Fonse in 1741, 121 years after the Pilgrims arrived in Plymouth. Okay, so that's why Plymouth Rock was in there. Okay. Next, the Chariots only wanted people of melanated descent, right? Let me stop sharing. Well, I keep sharing my screen. And supposedly the inhabitants of the Chariots were visible as a Ronald Reagan, as a portrait of Ronald Reagan in a little TV screen. And they proposed to trade goods and services again for the people of color, melanated people, people of Israelite descent. So now I want to go to this little cabinet meeting that they had at the very beginning. And the president asked, this is all bullshit, right? And the response was, maybe this day will go down in history. End of poverty, end of pollution, cheap unlimited energy for every American. Sounds like a hell of a re-election plan. So basically he's saying it'll be the end of poverty because all the people of melanin descent will be in the Chariots. He then further states, this is the way that Esau feels, that who will be left will be the Americans, and there will be an end of poverty for the Americans, an end of the pollution for the Americans, and chief unlimited energy for every American. Sounds like a hell of a re-election plan. If you are of Israelite descent, if you are a so-called Negro, Hispanic, or Native, they don't even consider you as an American. Point blank. They said it, I didn't. Then an Edomite woman in that same little room states, I have to go on record as saying that this is crazy, but welfare rolls will be cut 40%, food stamps, welfare, drug abuse programs will be slashed. And what I'm doing is I'm touching on some truths and lies just in the very beginning. Now, she put a number out there. She said it would be cut by 40%. Believe it or not, that's true. That was true. The reason why the previous statement where he said it will be the end of poverty is not true is because this statement is very true. And I'm going to show you why. This is the history of the United States welfare program. Listen to this. The history of welfare in the United States started long before the government welfare programs we know were created. In the early days of the United States, the colonies imported the British Poor Laws. These laws made a distinction between those who were able to work due to their age or physical health and those who were able-bodied but unemployed. The former group was assisted with cash or alternative forms of help from the government. The latter group was given public service employment in workhouses. Throughout the 1800s, welfare history continued when there were attempts to reform how the government dealt with the poor. Some changes tried to help the poor move to work rather than continuing to need assistance. Social casework, consisting of caseworkers visiting the poor and training them in morals and a work ethic, was advocated by reformers in the 1880s and 1890s. Who were these poor pilgrims? Those were Edomites. Believe it or not, Israel, the whole welfare system was set up for poor, not Israelites, I retract that. Those were Edomites. Those pilgrims were Edomites. The welfare system was originally set up for poor Edomites. The reason why that's true is because, believe it or not, there are a lot more poor Edomites in Babylon than you might even think or even know. But let's go. I'm on that same conference room. And now I definitely can stop sharing my screen. And the links to everything that's in this Truth for Thought will be in the description as always, as well as all the scriptures that I'm going to go over. So let's move to, then another Edomite responded, if I can guarantee the prosperity of this great country by giving life or taking of with the space traders, I do so without a moment's hesitation. Again, this is Esau letting you know, Israel, how they feel about you. It was then made reference to that of one being called to military services as if drafted by the country to do the country a service. Now, all of this, let me go over one other truth that was in there. It's a truth and a lie. A couple of them, the things that I want to go over. One, the truth. When the chariots come, will it be for melanated people? Yes. Yes, it would. They will. But that will not be their primary, their only purpose for coming. That will be one of the purposes for them coming. Two, will their purpose for coming be to clean up Lake Michigan as it depicted in this science fiction piece of art by Derek Bale, or cleaning the smog out of California as it was depicted in here? again, by Derek Bell. I want you to keep that name in mind. Keep that name in mind. No, the chair is not coming with no goddamn high-tech Hoover vacuum cleaners and dusters to clean up the United States to make it great again. They'll be doing some cleaning up. All right. It won't be like that. All right. So I keep mentioning this is a piece of art, Hollywood art by Derek Bell. And this is where I'm going to go into the actual title of this Truth for Thought. Wickedness, traitors amongst Israel. And when I say that, I'm saying that there are traitors of Israelite descent. They couldn't possibly know who they are. If Derek Bell knew who he was, he would not have done this. But there is no coincidence or irony, as we're about to find out things about Mr. Derek Bell. Now, in his little piece of work, there was a guy whose name was Mr. Golightly, right? And here's Mr. Bell. And he was a quote unquote Uncle Tom, a traitor. Traitor amongst his people. In fact, when he went into that church, he even said, I know what my reputation is. He feeling ashamed about his reputation. And he was the first one to be took up into the chariots. Another lie. That's another lie. He was not in the truth. That is a lie that he would even be taken into a chariot. However, it was a depiction, a work of Hollywood art by this man. My beloved brother, Mike Malice, did a lesson just yesterday about arguing with stupid people, even if they are of Israel descent. He did a lesson on the truth of MLK. He's talked a lot about these people that society have placed as or elected or named as activists for many of the tribes of the 12 tribes of Israel. So let's get a little background on Mr. Bell. Derek Albert Bell Jr. was an American lawyer, professor, and civil rights activist. There's no irony, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit because I want you to see his full thing. Hold on. Let me scroll down just a little bit. As you see right here, you'll see when he was born. This was him, and this is a picture of him in 2007. You'll see when he was born and everything, where he was born. And you'll see that he was a university professor and author. He truly did write this. Okay. Bell worked for the U.S. Justice Department, then the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, where he supervised over 300 school desegregation cases in Mississippi. After working as a prominent civil rights lawyer for almost a decade, Bell had a long academic career lasting the rest of his life. He started teaching at USC Law School, then moved to Harvard Law School, where he became the first tenured African American professor of law in 1971. He's a by name, an African American name. That's named after two Edomite people. He's an African American professor. Alongside his teaching work, he developed important scholarships, writing many articles and multiple books using a legal lens to examine racism. I want you to know that things he wrote about are straight out of the Bible. In fact, Mr. Golightly said that the quote unquote white people will be gnashing their teeth. That sounds like something I've read in the Bible. The chariots are something I've read about in the Bible. The fact that people of color, melanated people, that make up the 12 tribes of Israel are what will be going in the chariots. That's in the Bible. There is no irony in that. There's too many things to be coincidental. Let me carry on. Let me finish. Well, no, I got to make this point. So for those of you that like to say that Israelites are racist, I pose this question. Was the Most High? I mean, the Most High himself said, for Jacob have I loved, but Esau I hate. So was the Most High racist? Is the word racist? Y'all preach hate. That no. I simply read what the Bible says. Now, the Bible says some hateful things about a lot of people. But that's not, I didn't say that. The Bible said that. Very Bible that a lot of these folks say they read. Now I want to carry on. Bell raised questions about civil rights advocacy approaches, partially stemming from frustrations in his own experiences as a lawyer. Bell is often credited as one of the originators of critical race theory, along with Richard Delgado, Charles Lawrence, Mary Matsuda, and Patricia Williams. He was a visiting professor at New York University School of Law from 1991 until his death. He was also a dean of the University of Oregon School of Law. So as you can see, Mr. Derek Bell was of Israelite descent. Was of Israelite descent. Couldn't have been in the truth, or his work of art would have been a whole bunch different. Yet, there are many that saw Mr. Bell as a Uncle Tom, as a traitor. Which reminds me of a story in the Bible. So now we're going to get some scripture. So if you would, turn in your 1611 King James Version of the Bible with the Apocrypha to Matthew 26. And what we're going to get is the story of how the Son of the Most High, Yahweh Shai, was betrayed by a traitor amongst Israel. So close amongst Israel that he was amongst the apostles. So now let's get it. Matthew 26:1, and it came to pass when Jesus had finished all these sayings, he said unto his disciples, ye know that after 2 days in the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified. So he's announcing, know this. After 2 days is the Passover, and I will be betrayed to be crucified. Verse 3, then assembled together the chief priests and the scribes and the elders of the people unto the palace of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas, and consulted that they might take Jesus by subtlety and kill him. But they said, not on the feast day, lest there be an uproar among the people. How do these people know that it's a feast day? If you go back and see my wickedness in Israel, you'll see, because these very people were of Israelite descent. Wickedness, traitors amongst the nation of Israel. Let me keep going. Now, when Jesus was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. Now listen to what Yahweh Shai says. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you. So he's telling the apostles, you will always have the poor with you. You will always have Israel. Even Esau say you're the poor. They just depicted it in what you watched earlier. So Yahweh Shai said, for ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For this and that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. He's further letting them know my day of crucifixion is coming. Verse 13, verily I say unto you, whosoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world. I went over who that whosoever was just last week. The whosoever, where redemption is people that were directly associated with Mount Zion and Jerusalem, which is Israel. So wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the world, not whosoever, I apologize, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this that this woman have done be told for a memorial of her. So what Yahushua is saying is, everywhere that y'all go out to reach these Israelites, whosoever of them have an ear to hear, my beloved brother Mike just mentioned something about that just yesterday. Let it also be told that she put an oil on me for my burial in remembrance of her. Verse 14, then one of the 12 called Judas Iscariot went unto the chief priest. So he went to these other Israelites that wanted to kill him, but they didn't want to do it on the Passover because it would cause an uproar amongst the other Israelites. And said unto them, what will ye give me, and I will deliver him unto you? And they covenanted with him for 30 pieces of silver. So for 30 pieces of silver, an act of wickedness from a traitor amongst Israel. That's what the cost was. And for that time, he sought opportunity to betray him. Now, the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Jesus, saying unto him, where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover? And he said, here's his response, verse 18. And he said, go into the city to such a man and say unto him, the master saith, my time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples. Again, he's letting them know. Yahushua is letting them know, my time is at hand. So we're going to do the Passover at his place. And the disciples did as Jesus had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Now when the even was come, he sat down with the 12. Verse 21. And as they did eat, he said, verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. Yahushua already knew. He knew his fate. He knew how he was going to meet his fate. He also knew that his fate would stem from wickedness of a traitor amongst Israel. Let me keep going. And they were exceeding sorrowful. All the disciples are exceeding sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Lord, is it I? Now, I'm willing to say it was 11 apostles that were saying this. And we're going to read a little further. That's going to explain why. Verse 23, and he answered and said, he that dippeth his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. Verse 24, the Son of Man goeth as it is written of him, but woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born. Yahushua, this is all in red. This is Yahushua speaking. This is Christ speaking. This is Jesus, the Son, speaking. He said, First, I knew. 2, woe unto this man who will betray me. He then said it had been good for that man to not have even been born. Verse 25, then Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? Now that 12th one has finally said, Master, is it I? He said unto him, Thou hast said. See, letting him know. I know. Nigga, I know. That's how in today's society they say, he slick told me. Yeah, he slick told me. Verse 26, and as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, Take, eat, this is my body. Verse 27, and he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, Drink ye all of it. Verse 28, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remissions of sins. He again is letting them know, I'm about to fulfill the prophecy for the remission of sins for my people. Not every damn body. Verse 29, but I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine. I'm not going to drink any of the wine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. Still letting them know the prophecy I'm about to fulfill. My day is drawing nigh. Verse 30, and when they had sung an hymn, they went out into the Mount of Olives. Then saith Jesus unto them, all ye shall be offended because of me this night, for it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered abroad. Verse 32, but after I am risen again, I will go before you into Galilee. So what he's saying, y'all gonna be kind of upset, and this is already written. For the shepherd will be smitten, and the sheep, the lost sheep of Israel, the sheep of the flock shall be scattered abroad. Already written way back in Deuteronomy, way back in the Old Testament. This is the New Testament. And again, this is Yahushua speaking. Verse 33, Peter answered and said unto him, though all men shall be offended because of thee, yet will I never be offended. Verse 34, Jesus said unto him, verily I say unto thee, that this night, before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice. He's saying you're going to not acknowledge me 3 times on this night. Verse 35. Peter said unto him, though I should die with thee, yet will I not deny thee. Likewise, also said all the disciples. So all disciples said the same thing. Again, they're saying this to Yahushua, who already knows what's going to happen. I want you to keep that verse in mind that they're going to deny him. Keep that in mind. Then cometh Jesus with them unto a place called Gethsemane, and saith unto the disciples, sit ye here while I go and pray yonder. And he took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. In my Jacob's trouble, Israel's trouble, trials, tribulations, and persecution, I talked about both of these sons of Zebedee. I talked about them both. When Zebedee first approached him, asking that they sojourn with him. Let me keep going. Then saith he unto them, my soul is exceeding sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry ye here and watch with me. Verse 39, and he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. In that very same lesson, Jacob's trouble, Israel's trouble, trials, tribulations, and percolations. This cup that he speaks of, I address it because he asked the sons of Zebedee, you know not what you ask. Could you drink of the cup which I must? Let me keep going. And he cometh unto the disciples, and findeth them asleep, and saith unto Peter, what, could ye not watch me 1 hour? Y'all denied me for an hour. I asked y'all to tarry here and watch me. But he did say thrice before the crow croaks, you would deny me. Verse 41, watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. He's telling them, I'm not concerned with your spirit and your dealings with your spirit and your spirituality. I'm concerned with how you dealing with your flesh. Verse 42, he went away again the second time and prayed, saying, oh, my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, thy will be done. Now he's off praying again. He walked away from them again. He's off praying again. And he came and found them sleep again, for their eyes were heavy. That's twice. That's twice. First, Yahweh already knew. But here, they're proving it. Proving it. Verse 44, and he left them and went away again and prayed the third time, saying the same words. Verse 45, then cometh he to his disciples and saith unto them, sleep on now and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. That's 3 times. Peter said he would never do that. 3 times he denied. Each time is when he went to pray. Each time he denied him because he Listen to his flesh. He did not endure. If you go and look at the Jacob's trouble, Israel's trouble, trials, tribulations, and persecutions, you will hear that a lot towards what it behooves you, Israel, to do. Endure. Verse 46, rise, let us be going. Behold, he is at hand that doth betray me. Verse 47, and while he yet spake low, Judas, one of the 12, came, and with him a great multitude with swords and staves. For the chief priests and the elders of the people. And again, these were Israelites, but they were of the world. Now, he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, whomsoever I shall kiss, that same is he. Hold him fast. This is Judas saying, now, the guy I go up and kiss, that's who y'all need to go get. That's him. Verse 49, and forthwith he came to Jesus and said, hail, master, and kissed him. Verse 50, and Jesus said unto him, friend, wherefore art thou come? He said, Judas, where you been? Where you coming from? Then came they and laid hands on Jesus and took him. And behold, one of them which were with Jesus stretched out his hand and drew his sword and struck a servant of the high priest and smote off his ear. There go Peter. Peter denied him 3 times, just like he said. But just like Yahweh said, I'm not worried about your spirit. See, his spirit led him to cut his ear off. He was worried about his flesh. His flesh was telling him to go to sleep, and he did 3 times, denied him 3 times. So everything that Yahweh has said truly happened. Verse 52, then said Jesus unto him, put up again thy sword into his place, for all that take the sword shall perish with the sword. He hit him with a commandment. He hit him with a promise, not a commandment, a promise. The commandment is that thou shalt not kill. Again, these were Israelites. This was an Israelite whose ear he cut off. But he hit him with one of the promises, which is, they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. Verse 53, thinkest thou that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? Verse 54, but how then shall the scriptures be fulfilled that thus it must be? Meaning, what he's saying, in order for the prophecy that's in these scriptures to be fulfilled, this must be done. Verse 55, in that same hour said Jesus to the multitudes, are ye come out as against a thief with swords and staves for to take me? I sat daily with you, teaching in the temple, and ye laid no hold on me. Further proof, these were Israelites, because he sat teaching them. However, he was but sent for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. There are some wicked traitors, wicked traitors. Amongst Israel. Verse 56, but all this was done that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled. He literally told them, I sat there and I taught you, and you never laid a hand on me. But now, as if I'm a thief, I just stole some. You come, you lay hands on me with staves and swords drawn. But this is to fulfill prophecy. Then all the disciples forsook him and fled. All 12 of them. They left. They left because he just said, hey, I got to fulfill this prophecy. Verse 57, and they that had laid hold on Jesus led him away to Caiaphas, the high priest, where the scribes and the elders were assembled. But Peter followed him after off unto the high priest's palace and went in and sat with the servants to see the end. Peter snuck in there. Verse 59, now the chief priests and the elders and all the council sought false witness against Jesus to put him to death. These are Israelites that are seeking to put Yahushua to death. Verse 60, but found none. Yea, though many false witnesses came, yet found they none. At the last came 2 false witnesses. Verse 61, and said, this fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and to build it in 3 days. Now, he's saying it is his belief that when Yahushua said that he was lying. He was blasphemous towards the Most High. And the high priest arose and said unto him, answerest thou nothing? What is it which these witness against thee? But listen to this. But Jesus held his peace. And the high priest answered and said unto him, I adjure thee by the living God that thou tell us whether thou be the Christ, the Son of God. So now he's like, I adjure you by the Most High to tell me if you truly are Yahushua, the Son of the Most High. Verse 64, Jesus saith unto him, thou hast said, nevertheless I say unto you, hereafter shall ye see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven. Yahushua hit him with some prophecy. Because for him to be sitting on the right hand of power, his vessel would have had to have met his demise. And for him to return from in the clouds with chariots, his body would have had to have met a demise. Verse 65, then the high priest rent his clothes, saying, he have spoken blasphemy. So now he's bearing false witness to Yahushua, because all of those are prophecy to be fulfilled even today, let alone way back then. He have spoken blasphemy. What further need we of witness? Behold, now we have heard his blasphemy. Verse 66, what think ye? They answered and said, He is guilty of death. These are all Israelites again. He was betrayed by an Israelite that was an apostle. These same Israelites he taught at the temple, betrayed by them. It's precepts jumping all through my head, but I want to go on and get through this because I got to get 5 verses in verse 26. Verse 67. Then did they, not one, then did they spit in his face and buffeted him. And others smote him with the palms of their hands. So now they spitting in his face. They're literally welling on him with their feet, with their hands, smacking him with the palms of their hands, saying, "Prophecy unto us, thou Christ, who is he that smote thee?" Now Peter sat without in the palace, and the damsel came unto him, saying, "Thou also was with Jesus of Galilee." She recognized him. Verse 70, look what Peter does. But he denied before them all, saying, "I know not what thou sayest." But he denied before them all, as a testimony before all these other Israelites. He denied, saying, "I know not what thou sayest." He already done fell asleep on him 3 times while he was praying. He asked, "Couldn't y'all just sit up and watch me as I pray? Come on." Now he goes and he denies him 1 time. And when he was gone out unto the porch, another maid saw him and said unto them that were there, "This fellow was also with Jesus of Nazareth." She saw him over in Nazareth. First one saw him in Galilee. And again he denied with an oath, "I do not know the man." Israel. And this is another apostle now. Verse 73, and after a while came unto him they that stood by and said to Peter, "Surely thou also art one of them, for thy speech bewrayeth thee." And he began to curse and to swear, saying, "I know not the man." And immediately the cock crew. 3 denials before the cock crew. And Peter remembered the words of Jesus, which said unto him, "Before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice." And he went out and wept bitterly. It finally hit him. He walked out of there crying. I want to go to Matthew 27, and we only get 5 verses from this. When the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death. And when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. Then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders. So that same 30 pieces of silver, he brings it back to them. But I want to get a precept for this because it said, then Judas, which betrayed him. I want to get a couple of precepts. If you would, go to Mark 14 and 10. So we're going to go to Mark 14 and 10. And Judas, and it reads, and Judas Iscariot, one of the 12, went unto the chief priests to betray him, talking about Yahushua, onto them. Let's also go to Luke 6 and 16. And Judas, the brother of James, and Judas Iscariot, which also was the traitor. Again, the title of this Truth for Thought is Wickedness, Traitors amongst Israel. So let's go back to Matthew 27. Matthew 27. And we're going to get verse 3 again. Then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, what is that to us? See thou to that. They simply waved him off. Verse 5, and he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed and went and hanged himself. Israel, you've always heard me say, you will always hear me say some things. One of them is you shouldn't be ashamed and you shouldn't be afraid. He obviously was ashamed. Ashamed that he betrayed Yahushua. He was told by Yahushua not to be afraid and ashamed. Israel, be not deceived. My beloved brother Mike Malice, again, just yesterday, he talked about arguing with stupid people, arguing with other people of Israelite descent that are traitors to the word. Unbelievers of the word. The reason that church congregation in that little clip, the reason Mr. Golightly said, I know what my reputation is because he was ashamed. Because his reputation was that he was a traitor amongst his people. All those people. There were very few specks of Edomite in that congregation. But 99% of Israelite descent. They felt like he was a traitor amongst them. the pastor was preaching and saying, y'all shouldn't want to go and get in the chariots. Traitor to the word. They do that today. Traitors to the word. As you saw, that pastor was of Israelite descent. This man, Derek Bell, was of Israelite descent. He allowed something with his name on it to come out saying that, or giving the premise that it's a bad thing as a person of melanin or of Israelite descent. It's bad for y'all to be having to go into these chariots. It's a bad thing. Don't be deceived, Israel. Just like I said in my older video of wickedness in Israel, there are traitors which are of Israelite descent, but they are traitors of Israel. And it is wicked. So with that, family, I bid you shalom. I hope you learned something from this. I love y'all. I really, really do. And this is the first time that I've done a lesson on a piece of Hollywood art. It's not the last. Remember that as well. So again, I hope you enjoyed your Sabbath. I love y'all. It's your brother Marcus G. And till next time, be it the Most High will. I'm out.